And then you
Yeah.
wonder, why aren't you confident? It's because in the past, when you've been confident, it did not go well. The one person you
Yeah.
cared about, your best friend, stabbed you in the back just because you were a decent human being.
Oh, hi.
Yeah.
Hello.
So, can we just check audio levels real quick and make sure, can y'all hear us okay? Mike is banging against the table. Damn it. That thing is so sensitive. I can't touch anything. Okay. Audio's great. Okay. So,
Okay.
is it LucieePie? Am I pronouncing that
Yeah, you
correctly?
can just call me Lucy.
Okay.
Lucy's fine. Yeah.
So, Lucy, tell me a little. First of all, what is all that stuff behind your chair? This looks like a.
I'm a streamer.
Yeah,
Oh
but
God,
there's
that was
like lots of
really weird.
plants.
Yeah. This is my little cozy setup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
what?
actually. Oh, go on.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say, I came in and raided you the other day.
Yeah.
I
Thank
really
you for that.
liked your stream. That's why I wanted to come on because I really, really like what you're doing.
Okay. And so, what are we going to be talking about today, Lucy?
So I've been reflecting on this a little bit, because I knew this was going to be the question that was asked. Like, I know I have a lot of
Uh-oh.
issues,
Okay.
and sometimes, when you're in the maze of your mind, it's kind of hard to categorize exactly
Absolutely.
what the issue is. But one of the big things that I kind of click with today that I kind of wanted to start with is like, I really I like who I am when I'm on my own, when I'm quiet, when I'm by myself. Like I'm quite content with who I am as a person.
Okay.
Like I'm nice, got good morals. Like I kind of check a lot of boxes, and I enjoy being in my own energy.
Okay.
The minute I'm with other people, my internal dialogue and my energy just completely shifts, and I'm very like critical. I don't like who I am. Like when I'm around people, I like constantly judge
Okay.
myself. And some days it's better than others, like if I meditate before I go into an interaction.
Hmm.
And there's some people that I feel more comfortable than others around.
Okay.
But yeah, for them, I think that's like the biggest thing that's going on right now.
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you so much for spending some time kind of thinking about it. And also, I think you did a wonderful job of encapsulating this issue, which is that there's more than one you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's sort of the real you, and then there's the person that you feel like you should be when other people are around.
Yeah. Especially with because I do, like, because I'm a streamer,
Yeah.
I might, like, I've been going through this like a lot of processes lately of trying to become more of who I am
Uh-huh.
off stream, on stream, and
You're
I'm
trying
a
to
Twitch.
become, hold on, you're trying to become more of who you are on stream or off stream?
Like bring who I am off stream onto stream.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, because sometimes, so I guess like my goal with what I like to do is like I like to uplift people. I like to help people find their purpose. I
Awesome.
do I'm very into like this the spiritual side of stuff.
Okay.
So I do like tarot cards and oracle cards, and just like I don't know, like trying to be that compassionate voice
Mhm.
of spirit. I like to work with spirit. And I
Cool.
really like that. And sometimes though I feel like I have to be this thing. This like always like um super positive, or this like I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know how
So,
to put
so,
it.
um, so you want to be the thing that you are,
Yes.
but you feel like sometimes there's a voice inside you that says that you should be something else.
Yeah.
And when did you start becoming the person that you are?
Well, it's been, I think, just like through the process of growing up, you kind of like shed a lot of beliefs that other people have kind of put on you.
Yep.
Um, I'm 24 now, so like that process has like really started happening where I'm like, I don't want to keep doing this. So I guess like, yeah,
Keep doing what?
like putting on like a show, or a
Okay.
a persona, or like a front.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think I'm just like finding out more of who I am. Like I still don't really know like who I am.
Hmm.
So when you ask like how long have I been who I am, I'm like, I don't like I
Okay.
don't, you know.
By the way, your picture seems to have gotten blurry. I don't know if it's.
Oh, hang on. Okay. Streamer issues, hang on.
Oh, that's okay.
I
That's
don't know
better.
if
Yeah.
that's okay,
Um,
sorry.
I just rely a lot on facial expressions, so it helps me enough. I can.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, I'm really good with those. I'm like really
Yeah.
bad at like hiding what's going on.
That's perfect. So that's going to make this easier for me. But so
Okay.
let's just think about this a little bit, right? So give me an example of, like, you say that sometimes when you're around people, you start to have a shift in your internal dialogue. So what kind of person are we talking about? Is there someone that changes your internal dialogue pretty consistently?
Um, yeah, usually people that don't have similar like beliefs, I think. The
Mhm.
spirituality thing is a big one. I even hate the word spirituality because I feel like I get a lot of, or I judge that a lot, or feel like I get a lot of judgment from that. So especially when I come onto the Twitch platform, like if the conversation's thriving
Mhm.
in something that I really enjoy, then I'm fine.
Okay.
Um, but if it's not that,
And so if it's not thriving, then what happens?
um, I go quiet. I kind of shut down. I go internal, and I'm like, oh shit. um,
What kind of thoughts do you have?
um, oh, like, oh, I bet these people think I'm stupid.
Hmm.
Oh, like, I bet I sound like an absolute like nutcase.
Hmm.
Um,
So if you're not,
like,
like, talking to, these kinds of thoughts arise when you're not talking to your people.
yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah,
Okay.
yes,
So, like, so now I've got my first question for you, Lucy, is why is it important to thrive?
because it feels good to thrive. It
Okay.
feels, yeah, I don't know. It feels good. So I've got like dead limited vocabulary on
No,
emotion.
that's no. I think that's a really fantastic answer, right? So it feels good to thrive. So what is thriving?
um, the exchange of information, the conversation, me talking about what I'm passionate about. I don't know, like my energy's thriving. I don't know what it
Okay.
is. It's like I feel glowing, like I
Yeah.
feel good. I feel like I'm
So does that feeling
doing what I'm supposed
come
to do.
from you, or does it come from other people?
It comes from me.
You sure
Um,
about that?
like, well, then again, actually, no, because then it's like the connection. Because I feel like I'm more connected with people when I'm talking about something that we're thriving about.
Yeah, so because I think, my sense is that it comes from you, but what I'm noticing is that you're not the one who brings it out,
Yeah.
right?
No, yeah, you are
Right?
right.
Right?
Yes.
Because what we're saying is that, like, so even though the feeling is internal, like, it's evoked by something else.
Yeah.
So
I
there's
noticed
some
of
kind of
something.
circumstance
Yeah.
that brings out your sense of, like, connection and thriving.
Yes.
And let's start with this. So, like, when you're sitting with someone and they're not sort of giving you a space to thrive. Is that a good way
Right.
to describe it?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
do you
I also
feel?
don't create the space either. I beat myself up a lot of like I've been repeating this cycle where so I do tarot readings and I love doing them and I get this is like the best scenario I can describe. What happens is um I come in with an intention of like, I don't know, like I want to uplift people. I want to like have a discussion about this, and this. And then I'll be talking, I'm having a great time, and then like things slowly start to die down. But then it's like internally I start to shut off. And then I start going into this comfort zone of like, okay, I'm just gonna do people's cards now. And it's like a comfort zone of like, okay, I'm just going to be focusing on you, and like we do like a question and answer type thing where people come in with questions that I like just kind of like go back to like
Yeah, so
the card machine.
yeah,
And I don't
absolutely. So
engage
so
with
what is it
things.
what is it that the cards protect you from?
Uh, I
You
don't know.
see
I
that?
think
The
I'm
cards
quite
are
bad at
protecting
like
you.
conversation, like
Like
some
yeah, so
yeah.
so I want you and everyone else to notice that like when you're feeling a certain way, which is like something in the negative spectrum,
Yeah.
you turn to the cards because this is, as you put it, it's your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Right? You feel safe if you're doing cards because the focus is on them, it's moved off of you.
Yeah.
And then you're in safe territory because then like you're out of the spotlight.
Yeah.
And then in your case it's tarot cards and it's another human being, but in a lot of cases, like for me it was video games.
Right.
Like when
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
feeling a
I've
certain
also
way,
kind of recovered addict from video games too.
yeah. Yeah.
But now I'm addicted to tarot cards instead.
Yeah, beautiful, right?
I
So
mean,
Lucy, let's think
probably.
about that for a second. So like
Oh my god, no.
how does that work? So
It's
tarot
funny.
cards have replaced video games, and I think that's good. Like I think it's a step in the right
they've
direction.
also kind of replaced like external validation. Like I have been reflecting a bit on like, like why can't I just be me in any situation? Like why am I like relying on like this external like, yeah, this person who you are is good. Oh no, we don't like, like why am I trying to gauge like how I should be from other people? But like I have
Well, so let's answer that. Why do you need to rely on other people to give you a sense of confidence about yourself?
I don't know, like that. I don't
Let's be
know.
mathematical. So let's say that where can confidence about myself come from?
From you.
In theory. Okay? Or it can come from where else?
You. I
Okay.
don't know.
Where do you get it?
I get it from me, but I only give it to myself when I feel like validated.
Okay.
I think.
So, yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. So in a bizarre way, so like I know that the right answer for people who are spiritually in tune with themselves is that confidence comes from within. That's the right answer. But if we actually listen to what you're saying, your confidence comes from two places.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes from you, and sometimes it comes from
other people.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
First, let's acknowledge that that's the way it is.
Right.
Now, what is it? Why would I need confidence to come? So, if I'm not getting confidence from the outside, where do I need it to come from?
From you.
Absolutely. And if I'm not finding confidence on the inside, where do I need it to come from?
You do need it to come from the inside. It's the only like sustainable source of confidence.
Hold on. Sustainable source of confidence, I completely agree with you.
Okay.
But if I'm getting confidence from the outside, what does that mean about the confidence, what I'm getting from the inside?
Well, it's not there, is it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, it's totally right.
So what can we understand about, like, if you find that you're with someone and you're feeling like you're not doing a good enough of a job and you're feeling some kind of negative space inside, you're feeling judged, you start to judge yourself, and then you turn to the video games, tarot cards, Netflix, take your pick.
Yeah.
Right? What does that tell us about your confidence or what you get from the inside?
That's kind of low. Like, yeah, that I have low confidence. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is strange, right? Because a lot of the times it doesn't feel that way.
It's interesting. I think like sometimes people can look at me and like think that I'm a lot more confident than I am, and it's like, yo, bitch, there's a reason I'm into spirituality. Like that has been like something that I've been trying to build my confidence like with.
Yes.
Because people can look at you on paper and be like, oh, well, you have this, this, and this. You have all of these reasons to be confident, and it's like, so like it's all about how you feel about you, like really like deep down. And yeah, like that's one of the big reasons I wanted to come into the call, was just because like I've been trying to navigate my own maze, and I feel like there's just big core wounds around confidence that I haven't quite like healed, and even like thinking about it and talking about it and tapping into it, I have tissues, like, because I know I'm probably gonna cry, because like I
Okay.
even start like tearing up, like even starting to open that box.
So tell us. So I think that makes sense because the strange thing is that I see two versions of you.
Right.
There's the confident version, but something happens. Like, I think that confident person is not actually the real you, that there's some kind of separation that's happening where you take all of your lack of confidence and you kind of bundle it up and you like stick it in the closet so that you can be this perfect self that can help and uplift other people. It's actually a sacrifice that you make for the sake of your dharma or your duty.
Yeah.
And then the problem, though, is that like even though that person feels very authentic, I think, and I don't mean to be judgmental, I think that that person is a little bit of a lie.
Yeah.
Because in order to become that person, you have to take some of this negativity and you have to ball it up and you have to stuff it away.
Exactly.
And this is where you use the word wounds, which I think is a very powerful word, that there's something about you which you have to kind of like stick under the table.
Yeah.
And when you do that, I think what actually happens is you're invalidating towards yourself.
No, for sure. I had a small realization of like, well, this validation that I get for this persona, how is that ever going to increase my confidence? Because I don't even identify with that
There
at
we
all
go.
times. Like this person that's being accepted, like it's only one part of me. It's not who I am. Again, like when I'm away from cameras and when I'm like alone, like I do really like who I am, and it's more soft, it's more gentle, it is less confident, it's not that bold, but it's like nice.
Beautiful. So just think about that for a second, right? In a
Yeah.
weird way, you are more confident in the person who is less confident.
Yeah.
You're softer, you're gentler, you're less confident in who you are. You're a flawed human being.
Yeah.
And somehow it's peaceful to be with that person who does not live up to expectations.
Oh my god, you just blow my mind. Yeah. That's so true. And I don't know why I'm so afraid to like show that. I think sometimes like there's that supposed to be attitude of like, oh, you're supposed to be like this.
Yeah, so
It's expectations
let
that
me
come
ask you
from
this, Lucie. Who did you show yourself to that you cared about that didn't accept you?
my best friend.
Tell me about that.
Oh no. Oh no, the emotions. I had this friend. So
I think your camera is tearing up because it just got blurry.
oh no.
It's
It's like we don't want to see her like this. I don't know why I keep
okay.
cry.
Yeah, I don't know. It's sometimes it's in focus, but okay.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Okay, there we go.
I think we're okay.
It's blurry. I don't
Is
know.
it?
Yeah. That's okay.
Hang on.
It's okay. I'll manage. But
Okay.
so tell me about your best friend.
So hang on, let me get cozy for this. Emotionally preparing myself. Okay. So I had a friend.
Everything
So
has just gone black and is flashing. Okay. So you were saying, okay.
yeah,
Oops. There we go.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I've always been a bit of a shut-in. I've always had like problems with like social stuff. I've me and like my sister was like my best friend, and I don't know, I just always had like a hard time making like good friends. And then I kind of like when I was about 6 years old, I got a GameCube. So great, like don't have to socialize with anybody. I can just sit at home and play games. And then in school, I would just, kind of like keep my head down and just like don't need to make any friends because it was just like, you know. Um but yeah, but then I get into high school and um I like start making friends with this like one girl, and we end up becoming like really, really good friends. And those like I don't know, I see like people having friends and they're like, oh, I've known this person for like 10 years, and I'm like, how have you got all of these friends? Because like it doesn't make any sense to me. But but anyway, I don't know
Let me
why I
just
just said
clarify. So
that.
is it somewhat perplexing to you how people maintain long-term friendships?
Not anymore. Because but yeah, sometimes I do think some long-term friendships, I look at them and like they feel like I see a lot of people like who are in those friendships because they feel obliged to be in those
Mhm.
friendships because they've been in there for a long time.
Mhm.
And I'm like, how do you do that? How do you maintain that? I almost want to say it's like a bit of a persona that like, to maintain that friendship, like they have to completely abandon who they really are. Um in those situations. And like I just don't have I don't have an easy time doing that. Even
You
though
don't have an easy time abandoning who you are?
well, I do apparently. But I mean I don't abandon myself completely. Like there is
Okay.
in if there's like a spectrum of how much you abandon yourself.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I'm not like like that super extreme, but I am on. I feel like everyone in a way is on that spectrum because the way
Sure.
like society and everything is like
Yeah.
you don't know like that you are okay just
So
being you.
it sounds like you're kind of wondering, how is it that people can be so inauthentic with themselves for such a long time in order to maintain a relationship for 10 years?
It honestly like I don't wonder too much because it seems like I don't know it seems like kind of self-explanatory like of how things are set up, but it
Oh yeah.
I've always kind of just struggled to do that. So I kind of wonder what's wrong with me more than wonder what's wrong with other people. I more wonder like what's wrong with
Well,
me.
Lucy, so I think so first of all, I don't think anything is wrong with you,
Okay, that's nice
but
to know.
I do think that somewhere along the way you got the idea, like in the assumptions of what you're saying, there's this assumption that being together with someone for 10 years, the longer you're with someone, the more work it is, because the more you have to abandon yourself. Right? That's why it's sort of perplexing to you how people can maintain relationships for 10 years, because the first year of maintaining a relationship is so much work. And then if we have to do it for a second year and a third year.
um yeah, I don't I don't it's more like if you make it's more about making a childhood friend. Like that perplexes me, like maintaining a friendship with somebody as you grow as a person and no longer become like you're no longer that person that they became friends with and that they have grown and are probably
Mhm.
someone that you no longer like I don't or they're no longer
Sure.
who they are, you're no longer who you are. How do you still maintain those
Gotcha.
friendships? Like, I'm not very good with like small talk or like I don't know, like I don't know. I don't want to say fake, but that's like the only I think that's like the only thing in my vocabulary that's it's like very surface level.
Mhm.
Um I don't know why I want to say prissy, like I don't know, like surface level, like me, like me. I just like I don't know, I just don't like it.
That's
And
that's a great description. So I just want to pause for a second and like you went me. So it feels like that's not good communication, but that is an amazing way to convey what you're feeling because I understood exactly what you meant,
what do you
right?
me?
Yeah, right? It's sort of like this idea that that sometimes there are people out there who are super fake and that when you haven't seen someone in a year, that's the way you act with them,
Oh, yeah, it really
right?
is. I was like, "Oh, cool, nice."
And it's really hard for you to do that because
Yeah,
it's
I have
hard for
like,
you to be fake.
it, like, reads all over my face. I'm like, "How do you do this?"
Yeah, so I think oddly enough, I know that some of the ways that I'm reframing things or framing things is not really connecting with what you're saying, but I really think somewhere along the way, you're kind of saying, like, how do people maintain friendships over 10 years as individuals grow and change?
Yeah.
Because the longer the relationship goes and the more that you diverge, the less, like, authentic stuff, the less stuff that you guys have in common as you become different people. How do you maintain a strong connection without the me?
Yeah.
Because you
But
guys have become different people.
yeah, I think one of the things though with me, and as you like reframe that, it's like I have a hard time being confident with myself as I'm changing and growing. I don't stick to it. I'm like
Absolutely.
fake. And I'm like me, like not
Yeah.
that authentic because I'm like not confident with who I've changed and grown into a person. So I feel like I have to like do these like pleasantries and not be myself.
There it is.
Roasted. No, that's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
wow.
So I'm going to just say that back to you, right? So the
Okay.
reason that people are able to maintain relationships over 10 years is because they're authentic. It's really, really hard if all you have is me.
Yeah.
Right? So the way that you maintain a relationship for 10 years is that you recognize that each of you has changed as human beings, but can you come to love and accept the person that they are now instead of the person that they used to be?
Yeah.
So I had a friend who we were really close when we were in middle school. And then like when we got into high school, he started using a bunch of drugs. And like that was difficult for our relationship because I didn't want to
Yeah.
use drugs and he wanted to use drugs. And like we still are friends to this day, but we've just taken different paths and we've sort of accepted each other for like what we are. And
Yeah.
that's cool. But I think the reason that it feels so confusing to you is because the reason it's so hard is because the further you guys diverge, the more
Yeah.
you have to me to bridge that gap, right? The more fake you have to become.
Yeah.
But I think the problem here is that you're not letting them see who you really are.
Yeah. That's really true. Yeah.
So then the
And
question becomes, and I'll come back to this, like what happened
yeah.
with Anna?
Yeah. So her name is Amy,
Oh,
and
sorry, Amy.
yeah, it's okay. I don't even think I said a name, to be
Okay.
honest, but Anna was a really good guess. Like, I don't even know if I said a name, um, but yeah, we were really good friends. She was like my first like official like best friend, and we used to play Xbox, and she just really like was we just really connected, really clicked, really got on. As we got older to like 18, 19, she started getting into drug use, and I wasn't into that, and she got very like judgmental towards me because I wasn't interested in drugs. And it started kind of getting into peer pressure of like, oh, you being boring, or oh, you're a pussy for like not wanting to do it. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I just like have this, I'm just not interested. I'm just internally resistant. I just don't want to do it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that like seemed like she didn't really respect that. And she would slowly kind of like, I don't know, like she'd start talking like trash about me, like to the people around me, and like saying that I was like judgmental and like up my own ass for like and condescending, and think that I'm above her because of I wanted to be like clean and not, well, when I say clean, I don't mean like there's anything dirty about drugs. Just as like the
Yeah,
slang of like being clean, like I
yeah, yeah.
not doing drugs. I'm correcting myself now because I don't want to seem like I'm coming being condescending or being above anyone. Um, even as like I'm talking about it. But yeah, and then over time, like it just the relationship just got really mean, and oh my god. So I used to do like YouTube videos when I was younger, because I was very like shut in. I used to make Call of Duty commentaries on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and I really enjoyed doing them. And I actually was pretty successful, like for my age. I was about 18 and I had about 80,000 subscribers, and it was really cool.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
quite proud of it. And then she would always introduce me as like, "Oh, this is Lucy, like she's famous on YouTube." And I'm like, "Oh, can you not? Like, I don't want to, like, that's not, I don't, that like just makes me sound like an asshole." And she was always like, if we ever got into an argument, she would use like that card of like, "Oh, you think you're better than me because of like where you're at." And um she'd like accuse me of being jealous and stuff a lot. And I know, like, looking back now, it's like I understand that she had like a lot of issues that she put onto me. But I think I just like gobbled them all up and thought that I was like this horrific, horrible, like person. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how that connects to like everything. But like when you're in the maze, it's hard to see. I'm sure you
Sure.
can see.
Sure.
Things.
So maybe we can help you out with that.
Yeah.
The combined wisdom of Twitch chat and myself.
Oh no, I'm not even looking at Twitch chat. I was like,
I'm not either.
Put it up, and I was like, no,
but
like I'm
Twitch chat's pretty good though.
Okay,
so,
that's
like,
nice.
so let's just think through once again mathematically, like what happened, right? So there's this person who's your best friend. You guys connect. Y'all play Xbox. You've been a little bit lonely, it sounds like, through middle school and when you got to high school. And you have an accent. Where are you from generally?
I'm from England.
Okay.
From Britain, yeah.
Okay, so you were kind of, I think you used the words shut in a little bit.
Yeah, I was a shut in. I'm just like homebody.
Yeah, and so you had this friend and this person that you really connect with, and Amy is like Amy, right?
Yeah.
And so y'all are close, and she's your friend, and she's officially your best friend.
I say official because I've always been like, oh, you see like girls in cliques, like all the cool girls in high school, and I was like a goof. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, like I have me like one of these best friends.
Yeah, absolutely, right? So you were hungry for something. Yes. You were hungry for companionship and friendship. And here comes along Amy. And, you kind of describe in a very like logical way that there was like sort of this decline that started around drug use. Yeah. And it sounds like she took a lot of your choices personally. Like she felt like if you're not using drugs, she was projecting. So in psychology and psychiatry, we call that projecting. She was projecting her insecurities. She was calling you judgmental, even though like, and we can talk a little bit about this. So people sometimes hate, the thing that they hate the most in the world is someone who they could be.
Yes. Yeah.
And we talked about this a couple weeks ago on Devin's stream, but like my theory of trolls on the internet is that like the reason that they troll is because they look at someone and they feel like if they were different, they could be the person that they choose to troll. Yeah. And so what they have to do is like knock people down a peg to make themselves feel better. Yeah. And so what she's got to do is like when she's using drugs and you're sober and you've got 80,000 subscribers on YouTube, like, were either of you professionally oriented or successful or academic or anything like that?
No, we both like didn't go to college, didn't go to university. Yeah.
Absolutely, right? So like if you think about both of you guys are so similar, but there are a couple of really important differences between you and her. And those are that, first of all, you choose not to use drugs. Yeah. And the second is that you're professionally successful in some way despite college. So there's like the jealousy and envy of everyone who decides to go to university and, becomes an accountant, which is like they're like a normal functional member of society. And then there's the two of you. And you guys, your bond is so deep because both of y'all are misfits. Yeah. And both of you are rejects. Yeah. And so it's okay for both of you guys to fuck up. Yeah. But then you committed the most cardinal sin, Lucie. You didn't actually fuck up. Yeah. You're someone who walked her path, but decided not to use drugs and became YouTube famous. Yeah. And so she, every day when she wakes up and she sees you,
oh man,
she sees
that must have sucked so hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? And then because she's like, oh. And so then what happens is the guilt arises, the shame arises. Like, oh, Lucie's actually better than I am. And then what she has to do is she has to protect herself from that, right? Yeah. We've talked about this before, but remember that the ego arises in order to protect you from negative emotion. Yeah. So she starts to feel guilt and shame. The ego steps in, and then she starts being judgmental towards you, right? Every person that she introduces you to, she's got to tell them that you're famous on YouTube, because if it comes out 15 minutes into the conversation, they're going to be really impressed. Right?
Oh
like,
my
you get
God. That? I kind of saw it as like a way, like, because I just got really embarrassed by it. I was like, oh my God, she's just like, I don't know. Oh
yeah, you got embarrassed by it because you're an empathic person and you realize that she's insulting you in public. But that's not what it looks like.
Yeah. What a bitch. I'm kidding. Sorry, that's a joke. But No.
Right? So like this is like someone saying like, so hi, my name is Alok Kanoja. I'm on faculty at Harvard Medical School. Like it's the second word out of like second thing out of my. It's a dick thing to say. And then
Yeah.
if someone
And
introduces
she like reduced me down to this YouTube fame, and I'm just like, I'm so much more than that. Like that was a byproduct of me being me, you know? Like I don't know. Yeah, shit. I didn't even think of it like that. Oh my god.
And so she's gotta pull the gun out and sort of like it and the funny thing is you can't if you complain about that, but she's like, oh no, I'm trying to like tell everyone how awesome you are. But she's actually doing the exact opposite.
She's being a twat. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And that's what she's got to do, because if people find out that like not only are you a normal human being that they like, and you're YouTube famous and you're humble about it, and it's not how you define yourself.
Yeah.
That's intolerable.
I also feel like I need to disclaim I'm also not YouTube famous anymore, just to let everyone know. but yeah.
How does it feel? How does it feel to say you're not YouTube famous?
Oh, it's nice, like a weight off my shoulders. Like I'm
right. So that's kind of weird. So let's just pause and pay attention to that for a second.
Okay.
So one would think that admitting your failures or that you're a has-been would lead to a sense of lack of self-confidence.
Oh yeah, I have been through that like process of like my mind being like, oh god, everyone's gonna be so judgmental, like of because I have friends that are on like millions of subscribers now, and I'm like, oh shit, like I bet they think I'm like a burnout. I'm like, you know what? It's actually like really nice to just not.
That sounds like an Amy thought. I bet they think I'm a burnout.
Yeah, like
that's an Amy thought. You see that?
Wait.
That's the kind of thing that Amy used to think about you.
Oh my god, is she like the little voice in my head now? Like of those judgments? Because it happens like again.
Yes.
It used to be really bad, but it's not as bad anymore. But yeah, like I have like some quite like very like famous people like Syndicate, and there was this guy called like KSI who are like huge YouTubers. And I used to be like quite friends with them all, and I kind of got embarrassed. Like I kind of returned to the internet again as this, you know, more like spiritual, laid back, like hippie, rather than like a super intense like gamer with like. I used to have like a lot of opinions, negative ones. I used to like ranting and like, I don't know, but yeah,
How do you feel right now, Lucie?
Embarrassed.
By what?
Bit, oh no. About like all of my projections and like.
What does that mean? Projections? What do you mean by? What are you embarrassed by?
Like explaining like how I feel about and like talking about my judgments and thoughts that I have. Like sometimes I feel kind of like ashamed of them. And especially I still low key feel like I'm like somehow like bragging or something by saying that like I was friends with famous people. It's like it's just part of like the story. It's not like me trying to brag. But I think that's an Amy comment.
Yeah. So the other thing that is those are the thoughts. So you have this like program running like in the back of your computer.
Yeah.
Of your mind that judges what you say based on how other people are going to perceive it.
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly it.
Right? And we're going to call that thing Amy.
That's really funny. But
that's Amy.exe.
Like that's actually hilarious because it really is true. Like it's sad.
So now I'm going to ask you, Lucie, when you pull out the tarot cards, what program are you trying to shut down?
Amy. And anything else in my life that's been that program, you know, like I made my own little deck, and it's like, you know, things like listen to yourself, like connect with your heart, like what are your intentions, let your guard down, like it's safe to trust things. And it's just like, this is literally like, I don't know, just like little nice messages that I'm like, yeah, that I'm like trying to drown out. Like even today, like I was crapping myself coming onto this call. I was like, oh, like I was so anxious. I felt really sick. And I was like, it's like meditate, chill, breathe.
What were you feeling
Do my
anxious
cards. I was anxious about being able to like communicate what my issues are, because as I said, like trying to categorize, like I'm a whole, like I'm a bit of a mess, like I've got a lot of like different issues going on, and they bleed out into a lot of like different places, or there's core issues that affect a lot of things.
Yeah. So it sounds like what you were embarrassed about is that if you came on here, unless you had everything sorted out, people would think that you were stupid for not understanding your issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what program is that?
Well, we're calling it Amy, aren't we? But I feel like not all of it's from her, but we can.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
So I think that there are multiple things. So the Sanskrit word for this is a samskar, SAMSKARA. And as Twitch chat is telling me, this is like malware.
Yeah.
So like I want you guys to understand this, that like as we go through life, we accumulate these negative bundles of emotion that we don't process.
Yeah.
And what happens is that bundle of emotion forms like some kind of pattern, which psychology calls a schema, SCHEMA. Sanskrit calls a samskar. And it's kind of like this little thing that's like operating in your mind that changes the way your mind works. Because when you're by yourself, you're like a completely normal person.
Yeah.
And even on stream, so even though you're feeling embarrassment, I think you're being mostly authentic. And I don't think anyone thinks you're arrogant for having 80,000 YouTube subscribers at the age of 18. I don't think anyone thinks that you think you're better than anyone else for like knowing famous YouTubers because you used to be together. I think it's just a statement of fact. That's the way I interpret it.
Yeah.
But you've got this samskar, which is this little ball of undigested emotion, which when Amy did this to you, she was your friend. She was your one person. You were hungry for friendship. She was your best friend. And you guys were both the rejects, right? Y'all were both the misfits. Neither of y'all went to university. Neither of you guys had jobs or, I mean, I haven't asked you about relationships, but, like you guys didn't have something that when you went to Thanksgiving and you see your aunt or uncle and they ask you, what are you up to nowadays? You didn't have an answer that has them nodding in respect.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with the YouTube thing, even though that seems cool, they were still like, they weren't nodding in respect. But
yeah.
But I did have something more than her, at least. Yeah.
Right? Which is big when you've got nothing. So like when either y'all have nothing and then you've got something and then that creates that problem for her. And then she starts attacking you. And this is someone that you formed a relationship that you were vulnerable towards.
Yeah.
You were authentic. You guys had this connection. When she starts attacking you, that hurts. Yeah. And that hurts a lot. Because you weren't trying.
It was me being I was taking everything that she was saying as true.
Yes.
I didn't have any other external support to be like, yo, Luce, like she's like projecting her shit on you.
Yes.
I tried to speak to my mom about it, and my mom was like, kind of like, she's just jealous, and it's like.
So what did that do to your internal sense of confidence?
I took a massive shit on it.
Yeah.
And I notice now, like every time like I'm doing something well, I'm always like, oh, okay, gotta make sure like I'm not sounding like I can't. It's almost like I'm not allowed to be successful. Like I'm always beating myself up for like even wanting like something good.
Yes, because that's Amy judging you for being successful.
Yeah.
Right? So now what you've done is you've internalized that Amy virus as malware.
Yeah.
And when you're with yourself, you don't have to be successful. You don't have to appear to be successful. What turns on the malware is other people's appearance or judgment of your apparent success.
Yeah. And also just a judgment of me, like as me. Not even in regards to success. Like sometimes I can literally just be in a conversation with somebody and it turns on as like, am I making this person feel bad, or like, I don't know, just like questioning like how I'm being perceived or judged, and like even with success like out of the equation, like I just like, I don't know, I hate it. It sucks.
Yeah. Right? It's very powerful.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to ask you a question that maybe you don't have an answer to, which is perfectly fine.
Okay.
So, Lucie, it's fine to understand that you've got this bit of malware. And they're actually, I think the reason that you say they're not all Amy is because the truth is that you have multiple sum scars. And each sum scar is like activated by a slightly different scenario.
Yeah.
And what I want you to notice about a sum scar is that you're yourself, except when it becomes active, and then you become someone else. It's like the confident, quiet person disappears.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll tell you about sum scars is, according to like yogic theory, the sum scar retains the age at which it was formed.
Yeah. No, I relate to that a lot. Sorry.
And so right now you're 24?
Yeah.
And so when Amy.exe activates, you become like 18 again.
Yeah.
And so all the person that you've become, all the growth that you've experienced, actually deactivates. It's like you shut off that program. And that's why it's so damn perplexing, because you're like, I've become more confident. I'm confident in myself. I spent all this time meditating and reflecting, and I know I'm a good person. So why is it that all of those feelings just randomly go out the window in some circumstances?
Yeah.
And so I want you to recognize that your brain is literally like a CPU that's running different programs. And there's 24-year-old spiritual advisor Lucie, who helps people and is confident in herself. And then even while you're that person, sometimes Amy.exe activates. And in the middle of a session with someone, as Amy.exe activates, you can't just talk to that person. You need the crutch of the tarot cards.
Yeah.
That's a third program.
Yeah.
Right? Which is like a full screen, like this is video games or other things that when we have this negative sum scar that activates, we have to pull up a third program to like put that other shit into the background.
Yeah. Yeah, because as well, like trying to operate still while you have that going on, like you just like switch internally and it's like, oh shit, like how do I can't function right now. I need a minute. Like I need to go like
it's like one of those pop-up ads where you click the X and that's a link to open up another pop-up ad, and it's not a real X.
Yeah. And especially
like it's like just can't
when it
you
starts
can't
happening
conquer
on like stream. It's like it's funny because like I it's probably like very normal, for that to happen. And like I've been trying to be more aware of its like activation. I've been like practicing like a few things, like not taking things personally and not jumping to conclusions, because that's what Amy does. Amy jumps to conclusions and she takes like what other people say and she takes it personally. But yeah, like when it does, it's reduced that activation rate. But it's still there, and when it is, it's just very hard to like function as a person.
Absolutely.
And I
hate
Lucie, the interaction while that's running.
I think you've started by actually. So my question was going to be, okay, it's fine to figure all this stuff out, but what do we do about it? Right? Like how?
Okay.
Now what? And I think you've actually done a fantastic job of the first answer, which is I think the first thing you need to do if you have these kinds of intrusive thoughts, and like for people who are watching, I want you to just think about this scenario, right? So you're your normal self, and then some circumstances arise that your mind starts going like fucking haywire. It just starts malfunctioning and thinking all these thoughts that you don't want them to think, and you're like, why are these coming back? It's just like malware. Malware is a beautiful way to put it. And so the question is like, how do we conquer it? Like, what do you think, Lucie? How do we?
Probably like try and get to the root of like, where did you download the malware? Like, where did it come from?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. And then like, how would you want to install it? Probably do like, I don't know, because this is why I've come to you. I think people need support. They need to go to a professional to like help them diagnose and like run a diagnosis of, right, you've got malware and this is what it's doing. And well, I guess like on my own side, what I've been trying to do is like diagnose like what it is and like what it's doing with the limit, like from inside the malware, which has been kind of hard, and then try to reduce how much it's kind of coming up. But I don't actually know the solution fully. I'm loving this. Tell me.
So I will. So I'm loving this analogy more and more, because like I just love the way you're using the language to actually describe. So I think you're spot on. The first thing is you have to figure out, where did you get the fucking malware, right?
Yeah.
Where did these thoughts originate?
Yeah.
The second thing that you noticed is that when you're operating from within the malware, it's really hard to shut it off or impossible to shut it off.
Yeah.
right? So what we've got to do is step outside of the malware. That's how we're going to diagnose it. But the first thing is that, to recognize that, okay, this actually is not me right now. Yeah. Like when you're on stream with someone and you lose confidence and you feel like you're not doing a good job, the first thing is to recognize that this is the malware. This is Amy.exe that's activating. It's not me.
Okay.
And until you know what Amy.exe is, you can't tell the difference. And
I even because it's like, I recognize it's happening, but I'm like, is this me? What's going on? But if I'm seeing it as like something external, it's easier to like deal with and separate from. So I like that a lot.
The other thing is to be compassionate towards the malware.
Yeah.
Right? Is to understand that there's some guy in like Russia or the Ukraine who's just trying to make ends meet. So he wrote this virus that installs money on your computer.
Yeah.
And that guy is just trying to buy bread and milk. And so to understand that there's a part of you that is actually 18-year-old Lucy who feels hurt and rejected.
Yeah.
And what that person needs is like your support, right? Like what Amy needed. And I think you did a fantastic job of this, Lucy. Like when I was talking to you about what was going on in Amy's mind, you tossed this statement out there. Oh my God, that must have been really hard for her.
Yeah, it would have been. And it was so weird. Like the dynamic of the relationship ended up with me being a lot of like supporting her through that. And she'd go through these like switch modes where she'd be like, recognize like, oh Lucy, you're actually a really good person, like, and I'm sorry for like judging you like that, and then like switch, because then it was like, oh, if I recognize her as a good person, then she then becomes even better than me. And then
Lucy, you know what you're doing right now?
What?
You're diagnosing malware within Amy. You see that?
Yeah, I have like a natural thing with that. I'm quite good with diagnosing people's malware, and I always feel like and this is probably like a separate issue of mine, but I always feel like, oh no, like I don't want to call out people's like, I just call it like shadow, but I'm quite good at diagnosing people's malware, and that's what
so you're noticing that Amy has this one mode of operation, and something awakens within her where she's got to treat you like a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so all of us have malware. All of us. We all have some scars. And so the first thing is to recognize, okay, like this is where it came from. The second thing is to recognize when it arises that this is actually not me. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't deserve space in your head. Like you can't just delete it or close the program or something like that. Just recognize that when this malware activates, oddly enough, the more that you fight against it, like if you like go and you like if you Control-Alt-Delete and like end the process, the malware just like pops up again. Yeah. Like you can't just shut it off by knowing. Just understand that it's activating, and then like just recognize that, okay, I'm not feeling confident right now. This is like the Amy.exe. It's going to feel a lack of confidence for a time, and that's actually okay. Because if you actually just sit with the feelings of Amy, and you're not going to, it's hard to recognize this because anytime it activates, what happens is you go to your comfort.
Yeah.
And when you go to your comfort, the process goes into the background, and then you don't actually get to like emotionally metabolize any of that negativity. So just sit with it, try to put on a face, and just recognize that, okay, on the inside, there's going to be this whole process going on. And I'm just going to keep talking like exactly like what I'm doing on Twitch right now, which is internally, I'm filled with anxiety and thoughts of judgment and all of these kinds of things. But I'm just going to keep talking and play pretend. And as long as I recognize that I'm filled with anxiety, over time, the anxiety is actually going to go away.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a hard time. It's like when anxiety arises, I'm just like, shut it down. Like, end it. Like, I can't just
absolutely
sit through it.
Right?
Like, because I think as well, it's like resistance. Like, oh, if I'm anxious, it means like I'm not doing what I should be doing, or like this is a warning sign of like, stop what you're doing, like do something different, you know?
Yeah. So just recognize that your impulse is going to be to shut it down, and as best as you can, just ride it out. Okay. I want everyone to understand that like feelings like anxiety are actually like a wave. And if you just wait, the wave is going to like, it builds up, feels like it's impossible. And if you try to stop the wave, it doesn't work. But if you just leave the wave alone, it's going to like crest, and then it's going to collapse all on its own.
Yeah.
All you have to do is just ride it out. And so when I'm talking to people who have addiction problems, we talk about this principle called urge surfing. And to recognize that an urge is going to arise to use, whether it be a video game or drugs or alcohol or marijuana or whatever. And that you don't have to resist the impulse forever. You just have to resist the urge. So just ride it.
Yeah.
Surf along top. And then over time, like that wave is going to crash on its own and then you'll be completely fine. And the more that you just practice that, like recognize you don't have to actually take a step back from anything you're doing. Just sit with the feelings that you've got. Recognize that there's an 18-year-old version of you who's alive and got really, really hurt by being yourself. Because the only thing you were is yourself.
Yeah.
And Amy fucking punished you for it.
Yeah.
And so now when you try to be yourself, like you learned, this is a learned behavior, Lucie. You learned that if you're just like a good person, someone's going to fuck you over. That people are going to hate you for it. And then you wonder, why aren't you confident? It's because in the past when you've been confident, it did not go well. The one person you cared about, your best friend, stabbed you in the back just because you were a decent human being who didn't use drugs.
Oh, dude, that's so like, it's really, that's really mean. I don't think she realized what I feel like just in day-to-day life, you don't realize like the impact that you make when you do shit like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I've tried to speak to people in the past about it, and I think like, you know, people can like look at you and be like, look at all you've got. It's like, oh, why do you not feel confident? Like you've got all of this, and it's just like, I'm really glad that I came on this call.
Yeah, I'm glad you did too. So let's go ahead and transition. Let's see if people have questions. We have this question bot, so I'm going to see if we get that up.
I find it really interesting that you called it malware too, because like
that's Twitch chat. See, I'm telling you, this is it's really not just me. It's me and Twitch chat. Twitch chat called it malware.
So I actually did like a guided meditation once where I imagined, because I really like computers, like, okay, I'm gonna do Control-Alt-Delete. I'm gonna look at my processes and like see like a processes tab going on. I'm gonna like look and start I'll be like anxiety exe. Okay, delete. And then I was like doing all of these things and doing like, okay, virus scan. Okay, clear out junk. And it was actually like pretty good. Like there's like coping mechanisms, but even deeper than that, like I really like the idea that, you know, we are all just computers, and when we're born, we just like, you know, download software, and throughout our lives, you know, we're downloading different information, viruses, malware, connecting with different computers, exchanging information, you know, cutting away connections and just always trying to evolve and like upgrade. And sometimes people have better mouses and keyboards, and some people have 3 monitors. One person might have a really cheap shit one, and you know, it just is what it is. And you know, sometimes we don't realize that we're the computer. We think we're the programs that are running in it because it's just so deeply ingrained. And then even further than that, I believe like we're all actually just the electricity running through those computers. And when we die, the electricity just goes back to the source. Yeah.
That's a really great analogy. I think the interesting thing about some scars from the yogic perspective is that they believe that some of your programming happens even before birth.
Oh yeah, like I'm interested in like past lives and things like that.
Yeah, so you should check out something called this is like not really great science, but there's a great theory called inherited trauma, which is this idea that like children of Holocaust survivors have some symptoms of PTSD.
Wow, that wouldn't surprise me.
And so apparently like they're like not genetic level changes, but something called epigenetic level changes that allow prior experiences to be like passed on to kids.
Yeah.
And the prevailing theory was that this was just sort of like psychological and upbringing, like a nurture thing. Like if you experience PTSD, that affects the way that you parent.
Right.
And so because of your parenting changes, that someone else grows up a particular way, but that has nothing to do with like birth. It's just all the circumstances in which you grew up. But some studies actually suggest that there are changes at the epigenetic level, which is the activation or unactivation of genes, which get turned on in the mother and then actually get passed on to the child genetically or in their DNA.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's we can have a separate conversation about reincarnation and past lives and all that stuff.
Yeah. That's
But I want to get
interesting.
to questions if
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah,
So
that's fine.
one question is, Lucy, are you using? So Elmandrada asks, Lucy, are you using other people's standards to judge yourself? Are you trying to
Yeah.
see yourself through the eyes of others unsuccessfully?
Shit, yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I do judge myself by other people's standards, especially with the content that I'm into creating. I'm always like, oh, like I need to be like this to be like spiritual, or I need to be like this to yeah. You're right. Yeah, yeah, I do judge myself by other people's standards. Like, because my standard, I don't fucking judge anyone. I think everyone's like, I'm like, yo, you're living your best life. Like, you go, girl. I don't if I judge myself by my own standards, I'd be a lot I'd be a lot happier, and that's exactly what I do when I'm on my own. Oh my god. My brain is blown.
Yeah, good job, Twitch chat.
Yeah.
So someone else, so Morphman30 asks, so in a sense, Amy is the devil card who has things dragging her down, and Lucy is the hermit walking her own path. No, I guess this
Yeah.
person understands the tarot.
Yeah. That's archetypes of the tarot.
Is that? Can you explain that to us,
Yeah,
Lucy? What
so
does that
so the
mean?
devil card is this person, or it's a non-physical thing that makes you feel trapped.
Hmm.
It's usually dark, it's demonized, it's the devil card. It's usually symbolized with like addiction, things that are taboo. It's the things that make you like feel like physically constrained and trapped in something when there's no one actually holding you in
Hmm.
anything. It's just judgment. And usually the best way to kind of get out of it is to like laugh it off and not be so serious. And then the hermit is the archetype of being alone, going your own way. He holds like a lantern and he's just on his own path. He's in solitude. He's like in a deep state of like reflection and of like knowing himself and knowing who he is compared to like the outside like judgment and outside perspectives and like beliefs um and standards of like the rest of the world, and he like isolates and like knows himself. So yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for explaining that.
No problem.
So when you stream, do you do like readings and stuff?
Yeah, so I do like a mixture of different things. I've recently started getting into ASMR because I love like I don't know, I love ASMR. It brings you into like the present moment. But yeah, when I stream, I have like a little queue and people can come and join in and like ask a question, and then um I like read cards and go through people's questions, and we go from anywhere of like like what's holding me back right now. And the cards show these kind of like archetypes playing out like in your
Hmm.
life right now. And it's supposed to be like a projection of your subconscious mind onto cards through symbolism, through archetypes. And I don't do like fortune telling. I think people have a bit of a thing with tarot cards. They think it's like supposed to tell your future. And how I use them is like this is a reflection of the processes that are going on right now, helping you navigate the maze because it's hard to like navigate when you're in it. Tarot can show you more of like the different energies at play, or like the different archetypes like at play. And yeah, that's what I mainly do on stream. We just talk like life issues and you know processing things, and yeah, but use tarot as like sometimes it's probably more of a crutch. I could probably just talk to people about their issues without needing the symbolism of like the cards, but sometimes it's
Why
like
do you
interesting.
why do you feel like the tarot is a crutch?
Um, because I actually like even in my own time I do like private reads. But I don't actually use cards. I can just quite like I don't know. I say that it's because I work with spirit. Like I get like answers and I just am able to talk with people and communicate and connect with them. But I guess like in a scientific way, like maybe I'm just more empathic and like can pick up on cues and relate and see. Um, as we kind of pointed out earlier, I'm quite good at like diagnose like
Mhm.
people's malware. um,
Yeah.
I don't know how or why. Like I say that that's spirit, but it might be something else. It depends what you believe in, really, doesn't it? But yeah, that's kind of like what I do on stream really is that. But I don't always don't always diagnose malware. Like if you don't want that to be diagnosed, I can not do that.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for explaining that. So when do you just while we're on the topic, when do you stream? How often do you stream, Lucie?
I think I stream on like pretty much the same days as you: Wednesday, Friday, Sunday.
Okay.
As my main days at 8 p.m. GMT. No, 7 p.m. GMT.
Okay.
UK time.
And then let's see. Like, I think we have maybe time for one or two more questions. So, one of the questions is, how do I build IKEA furniture? Follow the instructions based on what. So I guess the last question comes from Tom. So this is Tomination time. How does one actually introduce someone in a group and try to build them up about what they do? E.g., this is my friend. He also served in the military. So I guess I'll go ahead and take this one, Lucie. But my first question is, why do you feel like you have to build up people that you introduce? Like, why is that? Why is that the standard? And if you really do feel like there's a particular reason to build them up, I generally don't try to just build up people, but I will oftentimes say something that could be quote unquote building them up if I feel it's like relevant to the conversation. So if I'm, talking with someone who's like a medical student and they're interested in, let's say, orthopedic surgery, and I'm hanging out with a buddy of mine who's an orthopedic surgeon, I will say something along the lines of, so-and-so this is a medical student, he's interested in ortho. And so I think I try to introduce people in ways that are more relevant as opposed to build them up. And I really wonder a little bit about why why building up other people in conversations is important. Like, I know in general, it's nice to introduce people and sort of, try to say good things about them, but just the, so if you're on, so Tom is asking a follow-up question, and that's let's say we're at TwitchCon and I'm introducing Dr. K to the other streamers. I might say, this is Dr. K, he's a Harvard psychiatrist, an incredible mental health streamer. Yeah, so I think that's fine, right? So I think that's relevant. So I try to think about things is what's relevant. What is the person that you're going to be talking about? Because when you give details about someone, when you introduce them, you're framing the conversation. You're teeing up the conversation to go in a particular way, right? Yeah. If I'm talking to a buddy of mine who's single and there's someone else that I want to set them up with, I will introduce the two of them and I will say, this is my buddy Tom, he's single, and this is my friend Helen, she's single too. And then that's super awkward, but it's it's teeing up the conversation in a particular way. Or I'll say something this is Tom, he's super into fitness, and this is Helen, she super wants to be into fitness. And so that's, so I try to make things relevant, and then of course you're not going to say anything negative about people. But I think, take a step back from the ego and just say what's relevant. And then it looks like, okay. So, hi, it's Ava asks, how do you deal with anxiety when the wave just feels too high to ride out? So I'm going to start with something that Lucie said. And Lucie, if you have thoughts about this, I figured this question was a little bit more directed towards me. But, so I think the first thing to recognize is that if we look at Lucie's case, she has some mechanisms that she goes to, right? So she was talking about how she turns to the tarot cards. And that's kind of your coping mechanism in the moment. And then the second thing to remember about anxiety waves that feel too large is that there are going to be anxiety waves that are too large for you to handle. That's just going to happen. And when that happens, there's going to be some kind of bad outcome. Either you'll have a panic attack, you'll start, you'll turn to whatever your coping mechanism is. So I think that Lucie has done an awesome job of transforming gaming, which is not a great coping mechanism, but I would say better than heroin. Right? So there's a spectrum of let's say heroin, gaming, tarot cards, taking a deep breath, and just sitting with the feelings. There are a lot of different coping mechanisms you can do. So try to move up the line of better coping mechanisms. But the other thing is I just acknowledge that sometimes the anxiety is too much to deal with and just understand that things are going to be fucked for a little bit. If your anxiety is just super bad, just let yourself be overwhelmed and be like, well, I was interested in talking to this person, but at the end of the day, like, that's not going to work today because I'm just feeling like shit. So I'm going to look like a bumbling idiot for the next half hour and then I get to leave. So that's it. I'm SOL. And oddly enough, when you just say to yourself, like, I'm SOL, that's it, I'm screwed, something magical happens to the anxiety, which is that it goes away. And it's kind of bizarre how that works. Maybe we'll practice that one day. So I just want to thank you, LucieePie, for coming on.
Yeah.
And do you have any questions or thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. Not yet, at least. Anyway, I'm going to process this a little bit because I feel like I've learned a lot already. But yeah, no, thank you for having me on. Thank you for your help. I still feel like a bit like like my brain has just been like pounded. Well, like in a good way. Like mind blown. Like I'm gonna
well, good.
Chill out.
I'm glad it was helpful. I really am glad it was helpful to you, Lucy. And I think what I want to thank you for is because I think everything that you've talked about clearly resonated with Twitch chat. I've been sort of keeping half an eye on it.
I was a bit afraid, like, I don't know. Yeah.
No, because I think the stuff
Amy
that
started running.
No, so I think everyone has an Amy.exe. Like that malware is fucking, it's all over the internet.
Yeah.
It comes from Reddit. And so everyone has it. And so I think it's really basic. I think the reason the stream is what it is because people come on and they're like authentic about what their experience is. And the cool thing about this stream is that anxiety, self-judgment, self-critical thoughts, that's something that we all deal with, but somewhere along the way, society stopped talking about bad things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like you always talk about, like, even if we think about Tom's question about, like, how do you pump someone up when you introduce them? Somewhere along the way, society placed a value judgment on saying something good about someone instead of saying, hey, this is Lucy. She struggles with her own internal dialogue from time to time. Like, we just don't introduce people like that. Yeah. But it's crazy. I was working with someone who was having really bad anxiety, and he was on a date with someone from Tinder. And the first thing that he said on the date was, hi, my name is so-and-so. And then he said, I sometimes struggle with social anxiety, so apologies if this is awkward. And then do you know what her answer was?
No.
She said, I also struggle with social anxiety. Thank you so much for saying that. They had an awesome date.
Oh, that's good.
Like, it was crazy.
I sometimes like go in with like disclaimers. Like I call them disclaimers, and it actually like makes you feel a lot more like relaxed. It's like, oh yeah, here's my disclaimer of like my human behavior. Oh shit, right? You're a human too. Oh my god. And
I know.
It's kind of stupid because like I've set this standard. Go back to like the standard thing that I mentioned earlier. Like either it's a standard that I've set or like that I feel like other people have set for me, but they've not. Is like as a streamer, like you're supposed to be like this like perfect person. And it's like sometimes I just want to come and stream. I'm like, yo, disclaimer, like I'm kind of tired, I'm kind of anxious, and I don't really know if I wanted to be here today because like it's like one of those where it's like that's the truth, that's what's going on. But is that like, oh, you don't want to like seem like ungrateful, but then after you kind of get it off your chest, it's kind of gone, and then you feel better, and then like you actually kind of want to be there. Yeah.
Right. So I think what you're describing is exactly what Hyatt's Ava was asking, which is like, what do you do when the urge of anxiety is too high and you can't surf it? You just say like, oh, like, hey, this is just going to be bad. And somehow you gain power over that negative emotion by just acknowledging it, admitting it, accepting it. And that's what you should do with Amy.exe.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like in society, like we're like ashamed of like the judgment that comes along with just saying like, hey, this is my Amy.exe, like here is my shit. Because I think with the whole like social media thing nowadays, it's like you're just like manufacturing yourself to like be perfect, and then deep down everyone's got this Amy.exe running, and it's like, oh shit, like what's wrong with me? Like why does everyone else look so like perfect?
Yeah, right? Because what's happening is are the versions of people that we're seeing are becoming more and more manufactured.
Yeah.
So it's just monkey see, monkey do. Like that's how we are. And so we think that since we see everyone going on vacation to like Hawaii and the Bahamas and things like that, we think that's what we should be doing.
Right.
So anyway, thanks a lot for coming on. Thanks a lot for, being open about your stuff. I think it resonated with a lot of people, and good luck, getting rid of your malware.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much. And thank you, Twitch
and how do
well.
how do we hook people up on stream with like information about your streams? We type something?
It's just LucieePie.
Oh, it's been going. Okay, so people have been doing it. Fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah, so there we go. They just posted it. Yeah, so you guys should check that out because, sometimes tarot, she's good at diagnosing people too. And sometimes a little bit of tarot can provide a nice framework to understand people. So thanks a lot, Lucie.
No problem. Thank you
Good
so
luck
much.
with everything.
Take care of yourself. Bye.
You too. Bye.